Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel today for another movie review because Nadia and I are ready to review the new film, The Creator, which is coming to theaters September 29th from the director, Gareth Edwards, who you may know from what I feel is the best Star Wars film in Rogue One. And with that, you'd certainly want to see this in IMAX. I saw it in IMAX, and I think it's every bit of worth the extra dollars to get it in not only the best definition available, but also sound. So if you can see IMAX or anything of that sorts for not 4DX, I forget what it is, but whatever it is besides standard, I would definitely recommend it. But here we're going to talk about it, and it'll be spoiler free. We did get a chance to see this very early. A lot of thoughts here, but I guess I'll start off with an overall simple question: did you enjoy it?
So I did. It's kind of hard to explain. Like it wasn't necessarily what I expected.
Yeah.
I don't want to give like too much away, but it kind of took like a different approach to AI than we usually see. And I think it kind of caught me off guard a little bit. I don't know if I was angry. I don't know if I was putting my own like I guess kind of like concerns with AI like going into it and trying to like take that away. I still definitely enjoyed it. Like I think it was beautiful. Like cinematically, the effects were
Yeah.
amazing. Like I want to go back and see it again and to see it in IMAX because it's definitely IMAX worthy.
Yeah.
But story wise, there were some things like I don't maybe I'll save to later like spoilers. But there were some things that didn't work for me that kind of felt like it was skipped on. But overall, I definitely think it was a great time and like you have to see it in IMAX because it was just so stunning.
Yeah. Production, top tier, and I definitely will talk about that. But I agree, I did enjoy this. And I think what you're kind of dancing around is you do at times kind of sit back and enjoy the film, and then there's times where you start to get like emotionally invested because it is the battle between AI robotics and humanity. And not only does the film sort of go back and rewrite history with AI, but it also shows you a future that I think we all fear, but in a way I don't think we all could imagine. So there's really a lot to really sort of take in terms of like the potential horrors and dangers behind AI and robotics. And that's why at times again, like the visual production, and just the overall production, because the sound and the score, I mean, Hans Zimmer, come on now. But like I think when you start to really sit back and really realize what the story is about, it does start to make you. It gives you like a moral conflict because we little one way or another, we all are consumers of robotics and AI, and it seems like we're just trouting towards a very unhealthy future, and the film clearly exposes what that future could be. But I think the only real saving grace is, as I mentioned, it also rewrites the past. So, like, in order for we to even get to where this film is at, we still got a lot more years to go. It's not
Oh
saying
yeah.
it's good, but it definitely gives you that sigh of relief. Like, all right, well, this clearly isn't happening tomorrow, but in the distant future, for sure. But yeah, production, sound, visual. We'll talk about acting as well too. Stellar, absolutely stellar. The plot definitely has moments you're emotionally invested into, moments you can just sit back and enjoy. I did also sort of found issues within the plot. Definitely things I started to question, like that doesn't kind of make sense to me, but I still overall enjoyed it. And the film is like a little over 2 hours, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, it's 2 hours and 13 minutes is the runtime. It truly does feel like a lot of movie. I just no ifs, ands, or buts for me there. It felt like a lot of movie. What about you for the runtime?
I think it because I don't necessarily I love like The Dark Knight and I love like Inception. So I don't necessarily mind a 3 hour runtime. It's just you don't want to feel it. With this,
Yeah,
I think they could have cut maybe 15 minutes. So it's not a
yeah.
huge complaint for me, but I do think the end felt a little bit dragged out, but not in a way that like deterred me too much from the film.
Yeah. So the film is about it is humanity versus AI, and when we talk about this war, we're talking about the battlefronts of LA and going into Asia, in all of Asia, shall I say. There was an attack in LA, and this attack on LA truly motivated the US to really get into not only just a anti-robotics program or AI targeted program, but also like a space program as well to eliminate all of the AI threat in Asia. So, when you start to really dive into the plots, you see a little bit of duality in the US past, which I really don't want to even get into in this review, but like you definitely see like signs of like familiarity in terms of the tactics here. But to get specifically into what the film is about in terms of characters, we have John David Washington character Joshua, who I have to just say has to be the most conflicted character I've ever seen in warfare. He's like a double agent. Like he is and beyond, his mission, he's there in order to identify AI camps. So we'll just say that. But in him being undercover, his wife Maya, played by Gemma Chan, is killed. And then there seems to be signs that she may be alive. And that sends him into a whole nother motivation of, I'm going to get my wife back by any means necessary. And it's a very dangerous game because he's still in the middle of warfare. He's playing between two sides, and it's just not, and it's a very high wartime. Like, I mean, the US is ready to go. Asia is trying to defend themselves, and he's just caught in the middle. And frankly, this is like the only thing I'm really going to say about this. I believe Joshua gets blown up. And I don't mean like literally blown up the parts, but like he's definitely involved in at least 3 scenes where there's a bomb being dropped near him. So he's constantly on the forefront of war, all motivated to figure out if his wife is still alive and to rescue her. And at the same time, he meets Alfie. Alfie is played by Madeline Yuna Yolis, who makes her acting debut. This little girl is fantastic as Alfie. Alfie is really special. That's just how I'm going to label that. She's really special and makes her probably the biggest person of interest. If you've seen the promotional work, Alfie is absolutely an android. And that is brought all the attention, not only of Asia, which it deems her as something special for the future, but for the US to be a weapon. And now Joshua is stuck between this unlikely bond between Alfie, but also still trying to find Maya. So it is a good story on that note, but it does go a lot deeper than a lot of other things that I don't want to spoil. Is yours anything you think to cover that isn't really spoiler about the plot?
I mean, I guess I can say like it's kind of funny because Americans are kind of the antagonist. I feel like we're kind of the enemy in this, so it was kind of exciting to see that approach where the humans were the assholes.
Yeah.
Without like giving too much away.
And it's smart though, because if it had been the other way, this film would not be allowed all over the country. All over the world, shall I say. So it's I think it's a smart tactic in order to make the US kind of the bad guys. But I also will say, like, much like we both said, even that statement, you may even question that because there's just a lot of conflict on both sides. Again, you're going to see what the US motivation is. You're going to kind of see what Asia's sort of motivation is. You're going to see how they are conflictions of each other. You're going to see the war, so it's a little bit of a tug of war on both ends to kind of see who's actually right. The Asia is the land and the home of AI, and the US is like anti-AI. Is AI beneficial? Is there benefits? Is there positive benefits to it, or is it completely negative through the eyes and the lens of the US, and or vice versa? Or are the US just completely, contradictory of each other and just like, well, we don't have the leading edge technology. So we want that. So we're going to make this a thing about us destroying that, even though we really want it. So it's like a lot. Typical war stuff on that note. I want to talk.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say one thing off that. I feel like they didn't really establish the rest of the world because I'm like, are these the
That's
only
true.
two continents that still exist? Because like I guess is it just the US and just Asia? Because like
Yeah.
nothing else came into play, and this seems like something that should affect the entire world. So I kind
Yes.
of wanted to know, did anyone else agree with Asia? Because I guess it's not like China or Thailand or
Yes.
Japan, it's just Asia. So
It is not world war. That is exactly right. It is a conflict between Asia and the US. And like this war goes about, it's about a 15-year stretch of what's happening here. You know, he loses his wife. And then we take a quick 5-year jump, and then we ultimately get a span of the 15 years of war. And while Joshua's search is for Namada is the home of AI, who possesses the super weapon, who the super weapon, as I mentioned, is Alfie. But at the same time, too, the US has a very powerful weapon too, in the USS Nomad, which is this spaceship, which I guess this is the future of Space Force here. And that's truly how the US is able to eliminate AI in the capacity that sort of makes the US unstoppable there. But I want to talk a little bit less about the plot. I want to talk a little bit about the character. So I want to start off by saying that John David Washington is an actor that I know he's very popular, but I've truly never been a huge fan of his acting. I'm not shy to say that.
really,
I thought he did a really good job in this. I was not the biggest fan in Tenet. I wasn't the biggest fan in Ballers. I wasn't the biggest fan in the one on Netflix with him and
oh,
Zendaya.
Zendaya.
Yeah, but this, he showed me something. He showed me range. He I think the character Joshua gives you a side of comfort, but he's kind of on edge. You see this very selfish, motivated person trying to get his wife back. But you see him kind of get gritty at times. So I thought he really did show a lot of maturity in his acting with that. Um, but what about you? Who's somebody that stood out to you, should we say?
I guess I would say him as well. I do think he showed a little more range in this, and the actor that played Alfie, absolutely.
Yeah.
Can no, who was the Alfie?
Oh, Madeline Yuna
Yes, Madeline
Yolis.
Yuna Voyles. Yes,
Yo, Voyles,
Alfie
yeah.
was great. To be honest, Gemma Chan didn't really do much for me.
Yeah.
I feel like this was kind of a role that anyone could have kind of played. I
Yeah.
kind of wanted to see a little more of her because without giving too much like context away, I think that she was kind of more of an important character than they let on.
Yeah.
And I feel like they kind of like threw her to the side, and then when they were like, "Hey, here's his wife," and like, I don't know, I think they could have did a little bit more establishing like her background and who she is, and they kept saying like her father, and I feel like they didn't really give a. They showed like minor flashbacks, but it still wasn't enough. Just showing him dancing with his wife didn't really do enough
Yeah.
to establish who she is.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. But yeah, leads and John and Madeline are definitely the ones who carry this film. I will also say that Allison Janney, who's Colonel Howell,
Oh
plays a
yeah.
significant part in the film. A character that keeps you very much on edge as well. So but yeah, look, Hans Zimmer does the score. There's not much to say here, but you know what Hans Zimmer does? He's fantastic
Magic.
any given time. And the fact that Hans Zimmer was able to score this and at the same time was doing Dune is a win. So he's the man. I think anytime you see him as a composer, you already know what it's going to be. And without a doubt, his score for this film takes a lot of scenes to the next level. The visuals, as we mentioned, spectacular. I love, and while there's not a lot of it, the space visuals were really
Oh yeah.
cool. All of the locations that they shot at was amazing.
A lot of it was shot in Thailand, I believe.
They shot all over.
Yeah.
I believe I heard they shot at like 50 locations, I think it was, and like they covered Asia with a
Beautiful.
lot of different places. So the visuals were amazing on that note. And I think that I think there's a lot to really there's a lot of little things you pick up on. Like I remember something that I'm kind of hinting at here is that like one of their space, not space shuttles, but one of their transporting vehicles, is like this hybrid looking vehicle, you know, futuristic, something, you know, something you may have seen on Halo or whatnot. But the fact that they kind of like piped it in with a sound as a helicopter, I thought was hilarious because it's clearly like a hybrid, like space or air vehicle, but like it sounds like a helicopter. And like I picked it up, I'm like, well, that thing doesn't have propellers, but it clearly sounds like a helicopter. And you think like, well, why would they do that? Well, what about hybrid cars? They also sound like spaceships, but they're not spaceships. I thought that was like a really cool touch in terms of like thinking about things in the future, how like technology will progress. So like just little things that you could pick up on stuff like that. I thought that was like
the
really,
robots
really cool.
looks phenomenal too.
Robots look, yes.
It didn't look like CGI. They did a great job.
Agreed.
Nothing looked fake, like green screen. Like it looked like believable.
Yes, and I will say like the voice acting for folks with the robots I thought was really, really good. I really enjoyed that, and I love how the robots didn't feel like robots, but they felt like humans. They operated and they maneuvered like humans. Yeah, which is really, really cool. So this is a lot of little things I just loved about the film. I think the last thing I'm going to say is, without a doubt, Gareth Edwards, the writer and director of this film, who did Rogue One, which I feel is the best Star Wars film, without a doubt that this was like his vision of Rogue One, like truly his vision of Rogue One. I think the ending, you're going to see a lot of similarities in a lot of popular science fiction films or any bit of lore. But without a doubt, this film gives you Rogue One vibes, especially in the third act, to the T, to the point that I'm very confident that this was him saying, if I had completely did Rogue One, well, this is how I would have did it.
I'll just say there was one building where I was like, Star
Wars. Yes, so just be prepared that you will get some feelings that will make you feel and think about other popular science fiction films, genre, and lore within the genre. Like it's without a doubt a lot of inspiration to Rogue One.
Yeah, I was gonna say he was influenced by clearly Blade Runner and Akira and a couple other movies. But one thing I also noticed, I don't know if you ever saw Altered Carbon. It was one of my favorite shows. The thing with I forgot what they called it in Altered Carbon, but the sets, the head, the thing you took out of their heads.
I forget.
It's gonna bother me now. I can't remember the name, but anyway, it really reminded me of Altered Carbon, the way you can like take like memories and like put it into like another body and like the skins. So it was kind of like that. Kind of gave me Altered Carbon vibes a little bit.
Yeah, and last thing I will say, last thing I'm gonna say, there's a lot of close calls with animals in it, so there will be moments where you kind of turn your eyes or kind of flinch a little bit, because the film has some brutal moments, but like I don't really like things where we're starting to like target animals, and there were some moments where I was just kind of like, oh no, don't do that. So
I don't care about humans, don't touch the animals.
Yeah, just don't touch the animals. Nadia, is there anything else you want to talk about with the film or cover, or any thoughts?
So we're gonna keep it completely spoiler free, right?
Completely, yes.
So yeah, I guess my only gripes are minor things with the plot. A few things I wish they established a little more. But as far as it goes, like overall, I really enjoyed it without giving too much away.
Yes, it's certainly a film. It's worth a watch. I think it's worth a hype. There's definitely problems within the plot. I think they built a gigantic world, but not enough. I think there's still a lot more questions about the other parts of the world, the other states of the world. I think there's also a lot of questions in terms of cause and effects within this. And I think it is going to have a moral conflict on the viewers. I think you're going to have a change your heart about certain perspective about things. And I think, like, you know, why it's a film you think you're going to come in here and enjoy it, I think it's definitely going to be like something that's going to be considered like a think piece afterwards. So
I was going to say one thing I'm like nervous to say, but I'm like, is this propaganda for AI? I just had to say that.
Who knows? There will be I can assure there will be think pieces after this once it released. But folks, check out The Creator. Go see it in IMAX in theaters September 29th. Get in the comments, let us know your thoughts about it once you check it out. And as always, stay tuned for more reviews very soon.